Hi everyone, happy Friday. I am Lilian Chukura from Lily Legal, where we help our clients get green cards for themselves and their families using the US immigration law system. So today I want to talk to you all about, you ready? How to expedite your immigration case. That's all we're going to be talking about today. Your case is pending. How do you expedite it? Stay tuned. That's all we're going to be talking about. If you have any questions about this or anything else, you can book a time to talk to me by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or by calling my office at 508-443-1788. So, this is such a great topic for today because I had a client come in and they have a case pending, and it's been pending for a while. They had a lot of things happen in a short period of time that required us to go ahead and try to expedite their case because it's just necessary, right? The expedite was necessary, and we had to go ahead and push for the case to be scheduled for an interview. So I thought, since that's what just happened, let's talk about it. Um, so first thing first, in order to get your case expedited, you have to actually have a case pending. I've had people, come to me and they're like, "Oh, I want to file my case, but I also want to expedite it. So how do I do that?" Well, first of all, you have to file your case. That's number one. If you haven't filed yet, you can't expedite. There's nothing for USCIS or the embassy or the National Visa Center to expedite. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you have to have a reason. USCIS, embassy, and VC have specific reasons, right? They give you the reasons why you can expedite your case, or the reasons they should expedite your case. Basically, an expedite, you're telling USCIS, you're telling the embassy, you're telling the National Visa Center that your case, that whatever is going on is so serious that your case should be moved ahead of everyone else's case. So anyone that's in front of you, your case should take priority over theirs. So because of that, right, to be fair to everyone in the system, there are really only four ways to get your case expedited. And unless you fit into one of these four things, your case is not getting expedited. Sorry. That's just how USCIS works. That's how the embassy works, and that's how the National Visa Center works. Okay. If you have a case that's going to go through each of these stages, so let's say you're filing for your spouse or your child, and it's going to go through USCIS because you have to do the I-130 with USCIS. Then it goes through the National Visa Center because that's where they collect all the documents for the actual visa interview. Then it goes through the embassy to schedule the interview and to process the case. So in each of these stages, you will need to do an expedite request. So if you did an expedite request with USCIS for the I-130, it does not follow that when it gets to the National Visa Center, they're just going to expedite just like USCIS. No, you have to do another expedite request. So it's really important that you know this and pay attention to where your case is and what the expedite request that you have already filed. So if you haven't filed an expedite request at the current stage that your case is at, and you did in the previous stage, you have to go ahead and file that expedite request. It can be with the same documentation, the same reasons, but each stage needs its own expedite request. So that's the second thing to keep in mind. Now, I just want to let you know before we get into this, not every single case that meets these requirements, in your opinion, will be expedited. Okay. I just have to say it again. Just because you think your case meets these requirements doesn't mean that USCIS, National Visa Center, or the embassy is going to feel the same way. So just keep that in mind as I'm going through these. So the first thing is severe monetary loss to a person or company. So if basically you're telling this agency that if your case is not approved, if your case is not decided on, um, that you will suffer severe financial loss, or that your company will suffer severe financial loss. And you have to document this. This is something that people don't really think about, is that yes, you may think that you will suffer severe financial loss, but you have to prove it. You can tell USCIS, you can tell the National Visa Center, all of these things. If they ask you for documentation to back up your claim that it will cause severe financial loss to a company, that documentation has to come from the company, right? It has to show the severity of the financial loss that the company is going to face, or that you as an individual is going to face. Now, if you didn't file your application on time, right? If you didn't respond to a request from USCIS on time, USCIS is not going to really care much about the severe financial loss, because they're going to claim that it's your fault, right? If you responded on time, if you filed on time, then the application would have been processed on time, right? So a great example of this is if you have, if you're applying for work authorization. There's a specific amount of time that you can file for your work authorization for it to start processing before it actually expires. So if you do not file for your work authorization until the day it's supposed to expire, and then your company suffers financial loss due to you not having a work authorization and not being able to work without a valid work authorization, USCIS is not really going to be in the mood to push your case ahead of everyone else's, because you waited till the last minute. Okay, so really file your applications on time before it expires, especially with the work authorizations. Okay, and at the end of the day, USCIS decides these on a case-by-case basis. So just because one person gets it approved doesn't mean you're going to get it approved. So it's really important that you document your request and you focus on your situation, how it's causing you financial loss, causing a company financial loss. So that's the main thing, because it's really case by case. Like when they say they decide on a case by case basis, they mean it. So you want to make sure that your particular situation is done well. Now, an example that USCIS gives is a travel permit. So if you need to travel and you know it's going to expire, but you don't apply to renew it in time, are they going to expedite it? It really depends on the severity of the financial loss. Okay. So really, really know you have to document it. Okay. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay. Someone's getting a little cranky. All right. So the second way that you can get your case expedited with USCIS is for humanitarian and emergency reasons. Okay, emergency and urgent humanitarian reasons. This is not just, the basic, oh, something is wrong. You have to show that it's an emergency. You have to show that it's urgent, and you have to document it. So one of the things is health reasons, right? So humanitarian reasons can include illness, disability, extreme living conditions, death in the family, critical need to travel to obtain medical treatment. So this expedite reasons applies to people coming to the US to stay permanently under an immigrant visa, and also applies for people coming temporarily for with a non-immigrant visa. So it really goes both ways, but you have to meet the requirements. So if you're coming here, or if you're asking for an expedite due to illness to either the beneficiary or the petitioner, You have to document it. That's really the theme of today. Okay, of an expedite request, you have to document it. You have to show the severity of the need, right? The severity of the humanitarian reason. Okay, so if it's illness, you have to get a doctor's letter, medical records, something that really shows the severity of it. We've gotten an expedite request for someone that had a difficult pregnancy, and we needed their I-130 approved as quickly as possible so that their spouse can come and join them. And that required documentation and actual a doctor's letter stating exactly what the medical condition is and what the prognosis is, why if it's the spouse, why the spouse needs to be here for the case to move forward, or to basically make the patient's, right, the beneficiary or the petitioner's life better. So it's really important that you're paying attention to each of these things, and that whatever you're claiming is the reason for your expedite, that you are documenting it. Okay. Sorry, yeah, 1 second. All right. So that you are documenting the reason for your expedite, especially, again, humanitarian reasons, medical reasons fall into that. If there is safety issues with the beneficiary that's outside of the US, that's something you can also bring up as a reason, but you have to, again, document what that reason is. It's, like I said before, document is what's going to really make your expedite request work. At the end, I'm going to tell you how to actually make the request and how that works. Okay, so the next reason that you can get an expedite request is if there's a compelling government interest, right? So what does this actually mean? It means that a government agency is asking for this request, right? Again, a government agency is asking for this person's case to be pushed through because of an urgent federal need. Now, this is not something you as an individual will be making, right? Whatever agency it is, whatever government agency it is, will have to give you some form of documentation or contact USCIS and MVC embassy directly to ask for this expedite request. But you can't just make it up, right? If you're working with a government agency and they desperately need you here for whatever reason, they can go ahead and request that your case be expedited so that you can get here sooner and they can get whatever benefit they're trying to get out of you, or whatever benefit the US government needs from you, that they are able to get it in the time frame that they need it. So government agencies are the ones that will be making these requests directly. Okay. The next one, so I'm not talking a lot about that because, again, it's not something that you come up with. It's more of the government agency making that request. Okay. The next one is an error caused by USCIS. So if your case is pending and USCIS makes a mistake that delays your case, you can ask for them to expedite it based on that, right? And it has to be a clear error on their part. So it's not a maybe, it's they made a mistake here. So an example of that is if, let's say, you file your application, everything, you included all the required documents, you signed everywhere you're supposed to sign, your application is acceptable. And USCIS goes ahead and rejects it, which does happen, right? You put in the right fee, you put in the right documents, you did everything right, and USCIS denies rejects your application. You can ask for the application to be accepted. And then, depending on how long that takes, and the delay that it causes, you can ask for your case to be expedited in light of the clear error that USCIS made. Okay, so one of the things we've done is we had a client's case where USCIS rejected the application, but there was a deadline to actually file the application. So once that deadline passes, you're not able to refile the application. So in those situations, we had to reach out to USCIS lockbox location and basically have them accept the application, right? They first had to accept that they made a mistake, which if you've dealt with USCIS, you know it's really hard for them to admit that they've made a mistake. But first they had to admit that they made a mistake, and then after they admitted that they made a mistake, we were able to send it back, and they actually put the right acceptance date on the application, showing when we initially filed the application that was rejected. So it's really a matter of, one, making sure that your application is done correctly the first time around, so that if USCIS does make an error, you're able to point out where that happened and able to get your case pushed forward because of their mistake. Okay, again, it has to clearly be their mistake. If at any point it's your error, they will not expedite for that reason. Okay, now a nonprofit, this is kind of a bonus one, but again, it depends on the agency. So a nonprofit can also request an expedite when the request is in furtherance of the cultural or social interests of the United States. So again, it's about the US. Is it actually going to benefit the US to have this person come here and have this person come here sooner rather than later? Then USCIS or the National Visa Center or the embassy, depending on where the case is, can make that decision of whether it's really in the cultural and social interests of the United States to let this person in. Again, with that, it's a nonprofit organization making the request, not the individual. Just like showing the government interest, is the government agency making the request, not the individual. However, for the emergency and urgent humanitarian reason and the financial loss, and clearly USCIS error, those three can be made by the individual. Okay, so if you know you fit into those three, you yourself as an individual filing this petition or application can request an expedite. All right, it's up to USCIS agencies, National Visa Center, or the embassy to approve it. Now, this is just a bonus tip. If you have a pending green card application based on the diversity lottery, you should be asking for an expedite. Okay? If you have a green card application pending with USCIS based on the diversity lottery program, you should be asking for an expedite request right now, because they have until September 30th to approve your case. If your case is not approved by that date, you're not getting a visa. You're not getting your green card. So that's a reason that your case can be expedited. I just did this yesterday, so I can tell you it works. So if you have, I'm just going to repeat it again. If you have a green card application pending with USCIS based on the diversity lottery program, and they have not made a decision on your case, you should be asking for an expedite request, because you have until September 30th to get an approval, or it goes away, right? If by, October 1st, USCIS has not made a decision on your case, they're going to deny your case because you already passed the September 30th deadline. So it's really important that if you're in that situation and you know there's a clear deadline where your case has to be approved, that's a reason to ask for an expedite as well. Okay. Now, how do you ask for an expedite? That's the question. How do you actually ask for an expedite? You will either call the USCIS 800 number or go on their website and do Ask Emma. Ask Emma, not really the best. I typically would call because I rather talk to a person on the phone and get that process. They're more understanding of what you need than Ask Emma. I'll just say that. Okay. So that's the first thing. Call USCIS hotline and say the magic words. Okay. Say the magic words. What does that mean? Why are you asking for an expedite? It's going to ask you that. So why did you call USCIS to request an expedite? Why do you need an expedite? For humanitarian reasons, for severe financial loss, for USCIS error, right? For compelling government interest, even though the government agency will be the ones making that request. But those are the magic words. Because if you start telling, the automated system, whatever it is whatever your reason is without saying the magic words, they're just going to keep looping you around. So what you want to do is say the magic words. What's your reason for asking for an expedite? Whether you're doing it with USCIS, National Visa Center, or the embassy. So with USCIS, you call the 800 number, you say the magic words, they'll connect you to an agent, and you can actually make the request through the agent. Then it's sent off to an actual USCIS officer that evaluates your request and decides whether they need more documentation to make a final decision, or whether they can make a final decision without more documentation. Then they'll make a decision and let you know what that decision is. If your case is at the National Visa Center, you will have to do an NVC case inquiry. That is done online, and you can upload documents to support your reason for asking for an expedite. That's really, NVC has stopped their phone numbers, so you can't even call them. So the online inquiry is really the best and only way to contact them at this point. And it gives you the opportunity to upload documents where USCIS will not allow you to upload documents to them until they ask for it. So with your request with the MVC, again, say the magic words and upload documents to support your reason for asking for an expedite. With the embassy, again, each embassy typically has their email that you can email them at. Again, say the magic words. And with the email, you can upload supporting documents and send that off to them, and then they will make a decision. Some embassies now have an online inquiry way for you to ask for an expedite, and you can go ahead and upload documents there too. So those are the ways to make the request, and make sure whichever way you choose, depending on which agency, USCIS, MVC, embassy, no matter which one you're working with, make sure to say the magic words, which are severe financial loss to me, the person, or my company, humanitarian reason, urgent, urgent, emergency, humanitarian reason, or a clear USCIS error. Those are the magic words that will get you at least closer to having an actual officer review your case and decide whether to approve your expedite request or not, okay? The more documentation you're able to show, the more concise, especially with USCIS, the more you're able to use the magic words, right? And if, let's say, some medical reason with USCIS, again, you're not able to upload documents. So it's basically whatever you tell the um, customer service person that they will type up and send over to the USCIS officer that will make the decision. So you want to make sure if it's a medical reason that you are using the right medical terminology, that you are getting a letter from the doctor and you are basically reading the letter to the USCIS officer, because you really want to make sure that you are hitting all the high points. Okay. If the person just had a stroke and they are in a coma and whatever that diagnosis is, you want to make sure that you are hitting it while you're talking to them, or when you're sending a message through the MVC case inquiry or an email to the embassy, that you are hitting all those notes, so that they know the severity of your reasoning for asking for the expedite. Okay. So that is all I have for you today. As always, if you would like to schedule a time to speak with me, you can do that by going to my website, lilylegal.com, or by calling my office at 508-443-1788. And thank you so much for joining me today. Remember, if you like this video, hit the like button. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share the video with them. And if you are listening in a place where you can subscribe and you do not want to miss any of my uploads, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Once again, I am Lilian Chukura. I am the owner of Lily Legal, where we do immigration law and we do it well. Bye for now.